to say thank you to the teachers that spoke earlier and shared their stories. Thank you very much for that. We support teacher housing, but oppose school relocation or relocation of any school. At a recent community meeting, and much to everyone's surprise, the district had already discussed already prepared list of 9 school sites that would serve as potential housing sites for teachers and other school staff to address teacher and staff attrition. This was the first time that anyone in our community had heard about such a proposal. A question raised by many in attendance concerned the extent of the attrition problem. Unfortunately, the district did not have or share any data to address the extent of the problem. Without knowing this basic information, it is impossible for the community to participate in helping the district solve this problem. Since this list of 9 sites is very vague, it's really not clear as to what is being proposed at any specific site. One of the schools listed, Gardner, was only rebuilt 12 years ago, so it's stunning that this is being considered for possible closure. This school is still new by any standard. Of the 9 sites listed, only Leland and Bret Harte are specifically identified for relocation, so that their current site can be used for a proposed housing solution, which is to address an unknown problem of unknown magnitude. One main issue that the community has is, of the 9 sites listed, none appear to include any underutilized land or former school sites that could be used for a proposed housing solution. From a taxpayer's perspective, this represents a low-cost option that must be considered and evaluated in a transparent manner in its site selection analysis. Intuitively, the most expensive option is to relocate and rebuild 2 schools in a remote location with few infrastructure improvements in place, and then demolish the current schools to create a buildable housing site. We call for transparency in the evaluation of the 9 sites that were distributed. Thank you.
I live within walking distance of Leland Bret Harte, where my daughters attend. I say within walking distance that my daughters are among the students who walk to school. That's a significant factor that we used in moving into the area 12 years ago, the presence of accessible neighborhood schools for our kids. Under the proposed relocation of these schools to the edge of town, away from any populated neighborhood, the community will lose our neighborhood schools. I attended last month's meeting, in which the Deputy Minister expressly stated, "We are not going to attend to what people want." That's a disappointing thing to hear from any government official, to overtly state that he intends to ignore what the public has to say. But it's probably understandable. The administration has their part to run, and I understand that, but it's not overly concerned with the community as a whole. But this board is a different matter. You are elected officials with an obligation to the voters and taxpayers. It's essential that the community have a strong voice in this matter and that we are not ignored. Mayor Liccardo yesterday released a statement that he would not support any use of Measure V money over significant community opposition. And at the Leland community meeting last month, or earlier this month, Ms. Meek made a similar comment, and I was very heartened to hear that. There is no question that there is significant community opposition to taking away our neighborhood schools and replacing them with schools far away from the neighborhoods they serve. This is not NIMBY, this is IMBY. We want our schools in our backyard. We absolutely do not oppose the teachers who have spoken up. We appreciate all the work they've done, and we're not, for the most part, except for a few noisy people on next door, we're not against teacher housing as such, but we want to retain our neighborhood schools in our backyard. For the various reasons that time limits don't let me go into, you should take Bret Harte Leland off the list. But at the very least, I'm asking this board to direct the administration that the proposal that they recommend have the substantial support of the community, and that means the student families, the residents, voters and taxpayers served by the school. Will you agree to do that?
Thank you very much.
Hi, I am Sangeeta Narayan. I'm a resident in Almaden. I've lived in Almaden for 23 years. 4 of our kids have actually gone through the whole system, walked to the schools. Leland High School and Bret Harte Middle School campuses are centrally located in the area served, with easy access to Camden Avenue and Almaden Expressway. Hundreds of students walk to school, and significant numbers also bike to school, which is practical and safe in the current central location. Relocating the schools across Harry Road would make walking impractical for most students and deter some bicyclists. The proposed site is on rural outside the main developed part of San Jose. Safety would worsen as the remaining pedestrians and cyclists crossed the newly crowded Harry Road. Students would lose daily exercise, parents could fall into conflict with work schedules, and air pollution would increase. Relocation of Leland and Bret Harte would add hundreds of automobile trips to the traffic jams that we already have during drop-offs and pickup times. The congestion would increase unsafe turns, jaywalking, double parking, in-street drop-offs, and other hazards. Congestion would occasionally impede fire and police response. The morning commute, northbound on Almaden and Camden, would worsen during drop-offs. The two-lane bridge on Almaden Expressway and the misalignment of McKee Road to Almaden would become choke points. Many of us bought our homes specifically so our kids could walk to school. But the proposed relocation would end that in traffic nightmare, moving physical education students and student athletes between Harry Road and the Pat Tillman Field, which is supposed to be intact, would be impractical. Because of these access problems, worsening student safety, increased commuter traffic, and inadequate infrastructure, relocating or closing Leland and Bret Harte must be removed from the housing proposal. We do not oppose the housing proposal. As such, we do oppose the relocation of our schools to another location. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk about the financial side of this. I'm a finance guy. My wife is from a finance background also. It's what our experience is in. I work with facilities people all the time. I work with construction companies all the time. I'm going to go really fast here, but the calculations are in front of you. So one of the construction companies I work with got a high order of magnitude estimate from them on what these schools would cost to build. And you see that in front of you. I'll just cut to the chase. $225 million is the estimate that they provided me. Going to the next slide, what would the new housing look like in the Leland-Bret Harte area? So there's 55 acres of land there. Deputy Superintendent McMahon stated that Pat Tillman Field and the rest of the fields there would be preserved. That probably leaves about 30 acres left that would be developable. Deputy Superintendent McMahon also stated that the houses constructed would be consistent with the surrounding area. The surrounding area is 8,000 square foot lots. You have about another 2,000 square feet per house that is roads, sidewalks, etc. So that's 10,000 square feet per house. 30 acres is 1.3 million square feet. At 10,000 square feet a house, that's about 130 houses you get in there. The total cost of those houses, consistent with Almaden Valley area and the way houses are constructed, would be about $90 million, about $700K per house. On the flip side of it, you would get some benefit from rental revenue from employees that you're renting out to. Average rental rates are about $4,500 a month there. The discount rate you give to employees, I have no idea what it would be, but assume that you give about a $1,500 a month discount. So rental income per employee would be about $3,000 a month. Costs for maintenance and property management, et cetera, would be about $700 a month. So you net about $2,300 a month from rental revenue from employees. So summarizing that all up, $317 million of total costs. At the 6% interest rate that Measure V is estimated to have, that's $23 million a year in bond repayment.
Thank you very much.
Which just will be like 10 more seconds. which comes out to $177,000 per house built. So you can do a lot more than that, a lot more for teachers with $177,000 a year.
And my kids are walking distance from Bret Harte and Leland. We bought the house specifically so that when we had babies, they could walk to school. And wow, I want to apologize for some neighbors that I didn't witness it, but so many people did. I'll take it as a fact. Somebody was insulting and mean, and it hurts. But believe me, a lot of us Almaden people are not snobs. We love our teachers. We love our custodians. But let's do something financially efficient. And also, take a look at the Leland and Bret Harte site does not appeal to the mostly young people who rent apartments, okay? They prefer downtown areas with transportation, restaurants and activities, a nightlife. You know, Almaden Valley has almost no urban appeal. It's a sleepy bedroom community the way we like it. It's the opposite of downtown. You know, if you're low income, you're gonna have a 2 cars to live in Almaden because we have one infrequent bus that VTA keeps threatening to cut. So there's, you know, transit is really not an option. And so, you know, that's just not really a good place to put an apartment complex. I would assume that we're not gonna have 8,000-foot lots. It's gonna be some sort of multi-level apartment that you're gonna have to put in there for practicality. And Almaden is just the wrong place to have that lifestyle. And, you know, housing an issue today, building something 5 years from now doesn't make sense. And again, the gross financial inefficiency of bulldozing a school, to build a house in a place without infrastructure, it doesn't really make sense. I think that financially, if you would just put half the bond money into a loan program for employees or a housing subsidy, you know, pay everybody some extra money. I mean, the real problem here is people can't afford to live here. Why don't we pay the people money instead of draining the budget to build houses in one long place? And please take Leland and Bret Harte off the list. Thank you.